I'd sure like to help you. God knows everything.
Yes, He does.
He knows why, and He knows how, and He knows for whom it's for.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't claim to be a great preacher, but I appreciate the opportunity and try to help you here. Let's go to the book of Hebrews chapter 6 and read a few verses there. I don't really know. It's probably not because of age. It's probably just a lack of remembering. But I do not remember if I've ever preached this message here or not.
Obey the Lord.
It's probably not going to matter, obviously, at this point. But this is what I feel like telling us here, trying to. Hebrews chapter 6 and verse number 12. That you be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises. For when God made promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely blessing I will bless thee, and multiplying I will multiply thee. And so after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. For men verily swear by greater, and an oath for confirmation is to them an end of all strife. Wherein God, willing more abundantly to shew unto the heirs of promise the immutability of his counsel, confirmed it by an oath, that by two immutable things, in which it was impossible for God to lie, we might have a strong consolation, who have fled for refuge to lay hold upon the hope set before us, which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into that within the veil. I want to read that last verse again. Which hope we have as an anchor of the soul, both sure and steadfast, and which entereth into that within the veil. Thank you for standing tonight. I want to preach here for just a little while. Try not to take up too much time. But I want to preach simply on the power of the anchor. Power of the anchor. The writer said, which hope we have as an anchor. You could almost feel, Sister Marcia, that the apostle is trying to change the scene a little bit.
Right.
And make it to the understanding, and he's almost like he's trying to he didn't say anything about a ship, but the first thing you think of when you think of an anchor is a ship.
Right.
And so it's almost like he's trying to turn the state of the followers of God in this little low world we're in, and into that of resembling a vessel striving to perform her voyage through troublesome, tempestuous, and dangerous seas. Now, we are probably, now, you know, our life has been likened to a lot of different things. It's been likened to a race. It's been likened to a voyage. It's been likened to a walk. And but here in this particular message, I would like for us to think of it as a voyage. And I don't believe that probably it would be safe to say, even as young as I am, that I've heard the older folks say that they've never seen a time like we have right now.
Right.
And so, would it be right to say that we are probably in the darkest, tempestuous, troublesome, dangerous sea that we've ever sailed?
Right.
I believe it'd be honest to say. So, what if he's likening this to a ship? Our minds, almost when we think of an anchor, we think of the reason that a ship needs an anchor.
Right.
And we can think that this ship, at last, she gets near the port, but the tempest continues. The water is shallow, broken, and dangerous. She cannot get in. In order to prevent her being driven out to sea again, she heaves out her anchor, which she has been able to get within the pier head by means of her boat, though she could not herself get in. Then, I want you to picture this. Swinging at the length of her cable, she rides out the storm in confidence. Hallelujah. Knowing anchor is sound. Amen. Knowing that the ground is good in which it is fastened and the cable is strong. Amen. Can I go a little further? Though agitated, she is safe. Though buffeted by wind and tide, she does not drive. You ain't getting this.
Come on, big boy.
By and by, the storm ceases. The tide flows in. Her sailors take to the stand where the ship against the anchor, which still keeps its bite or keeps its hold, and she gets safely into the port. Hallelujah. Listen, this comparison of hope to an anchor is frequent among ancient writers, and they liken it to men in their adversity, and the anchor being the safety of the ship. When about to be driven by the storm, we can cast out our hope, our anchor, and it will hold fast. The hope of eternal life is here represented as the soul's anchor. The world is boisterous. It's dangerous. The Christian's course, the voyage, the port, or an everlasting comfort, and the veil or the inner road, the royal dock in which the anchor was cast. I don't know about you tonight, but I am so glad that I have a hope, amen, that is not fickle. I have a hope that is not weak. I have a hope that cannot be ripped away, but I have a hope that is sure and steadfast tonight. Oh yeah. Look here. The storms of life continue.
Oh, blessed Jesus, help him.
I know it don't seem like it, but it's a short time.
Blessed Jesus, blessed Jesus.
Really? And I don't want to go this far, but
Thank you, God.
if a storm lasts a lifetime,
God.
it's still short. I know that we don't like to see it like that, but the anchor, the hope, is fixed by faith in the eternal world. Hallelujah. It will infallibly prevent all shipwreck. Come on now. The soul may be strongly tossed by various temptations, but will not drive, because the anchor is in sure ground and itself is steadfast. It does not drag. It does not break. Faith, like the cable, is the connecting medium between the ship and the anchor, or the soul and its hope of heaven. Faith sees the haven. Hope desires and anticipates the rest. Faith works and hope holds fast. You ain't hear me. And shortly the soul enters into a desired haven. Why? Because the anchor is got power. The anchor is sure tonight. Oh yeah. I know sometimes it don't feel like it.
Come on.
When you're going through it, it does not feel like it. And we've said many times that the word through, if you write it down and you look at the letters, most of that word consists of rough.
Right.
And when we're going through it, when we're seeing the roughness of it, when we're feeling the tide and the pressures of the storm, Brother Jim, they're pulling against us. They're pushing us from side to side. We didn't see it coming. The wave seems like one writer said, all thy waves and thy billows are gone over me. Come on here. I know that while we're going through it, it does not feel like we're going to make it. But one day when you stand on the other side and you look and see where you came from, the only reason we made it is because the anchor was sure.
Right.
Oh, hallelujah.
Come on.
You say, how do we make it? It's not because we're
Come on.
strong.
Right.
It's simply because we held on.
Oh, God.
Come on now.
Help us, Lord.
Oh, yeah. So with the soul of the Christian, in the tempests and trials of life, his mind is calm as long as his hope of heaven is firm. You hear me?
Come on.
Can I say that again? The soul of the Christian in the tempests and trials of life, his mind is calm as long as his hope of heaven remains firm.
Right.
Brother Ralph, that's what the devil tries to chip away at. is that hope of heaven. I was talking the other day, me and the guy at work, the one I told you about that I played that song for him, and his face changed, you know. Something got a hold of him. And we was talking, I believe it was Friday, getting ready to leave. We both parked our trucks at the same time, and we was getting out, and we was talking about, you know, the lack of work that we were having at the moment, you know, the holidays and so much rain and all that, and it just slowed everything down. Everybody said, it wasn't like this last year. I said, that's because I wasn't working here last year. But now it's slow, you know, all that. But we were talking, and he made mention of one of the guys just bought a big house over here just across the Clays Ferry Bridge on the Madison County side. Nice place, 5 acres, big nice house, you know. And I was talking to him about it one day, and he told me he had 30 years of way over $1,000 a month payment. I looked at him, I said, are you crazy? Huh? And so me and Willie were talking about it Friday, and we was talking about some of the guys, you know, there's favoritism everywhere you work. Help me, Brother Jim. Huh? There's favoritism everywhere you are. Some guys get all the big paying loads, some, you know, all that stuff. But anyway, and if I can keep this all going straight here, I was thinking about that very subject, about some of those guys getting favoritism, Sister Debbie, and all at once it hit me. I had my door up in my truck. I was sitting there doing nothing. And I looked around at all that big, nice equipment. And I thought of all them bosses in there, sitting at their desk, drawing salaries, while I was sitting out there in my truck seat doing nothing, not making nothing. Oh, no. And it just come to me, the devil said, yep, you're going to sink, and you're going to fail. And I thought about that for just a short time, and all of a sudden, Sister Kathy had come to me, well, that just may not be the case. You know why? Because all those people sitting there at their desk in their chairs drawing their salaries, they think they're the ones in control.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Come on.
Because at the end of my ship, at the end of the cable that's attached to my ship, is an anchor.
That's right.
That's sure.
Come on.
That's steadfast.
Yes, it is.
And God looks down right now, and He sees where I'm sitting. He sees where I'm at. Come on here. I've not made it thus far because I've been strong and because my mind has always been calm. But I've tried my best. I've tried my best to keep my hope of heaven firm.
Yeah, that's right.
But me and Willie was talking about, you know, that boy buying that house. And we were shaking our heads. Couldn't believe he's young. He's a little younger than me, you know. Got a family. And I was surprised that Willie said this. He said, you know what? That song the other day must have jarred him. I hope it did. But he said, you know what? He said, I'll just be happy to live in my little $8,000 mobile home. He said, I can't afford what he's affording. I stopped and looked at him. He said, but there's a place I can afford.
That's right.
Boy, that got a hold of me. I looked at him, I said, buddy, you're right. You're right. I can't afford it, don't have the money. The bank would laugh me out the door. Oh, but there's a place I'm going to. It's called heaven. And my hope of it is firm. You're going to help me tonight. I said, my hope of heaven is firm. That's the only thing that's helped me keep my sanity.
Right. Amen.
Huh?
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Brother Sparks was riding along. I believe it was with Brother Wendell Winkler. Brother Sparks made mention. I believe it was in Richmond? Big nice house over there. Yeah, on the west side. There's a nice house over there. It's old, but man, I couldn't even pay taxes on the fence around it probably. I'm telling you, it's nice. He's riding through there, and Brother Sparks said, man, would you look at that house? Of course, you all know Brother Wendell. He said, yeah. He said, but that wouldn't make a good gatehouse where I'm going. Oh, come on now. Hey, I'm telling you, I've thought about that many times. It looks like folks all around you are prospering. It looks like folks all around you are getting it all. I'm going to tell you, I may not have it all here, but there's coming a day because I've got a sure anchor. I said I've got a sure anchor. There's a place I'm going that's out of this world.
Oh, blessed Jesus.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if our hope of heaven gives way, all is lost. I hope we understand what I'm trying to say here. The anchor's for the soul, not the things we feel are necessary here. Come on now. Whew. Must I go back to it again, Sister Debbie? We had a shouting time about it this morning. Oh, come on here. These folks weren't here this morning, so it's brand new to them. Brother Jim, would you stand? Would you stand up, Brother Jim Watson? Come on. Woo! I've got some pictures right here on my phone. I could pull them up and show you. Friday night on the way home, he's driving his truck, coming home from work. Rain and pouring rain. Got there about exit 108. All of that rain. That truck hydroplaned. He come off the concrete wall, slammed into the guardrail, missed cars all over the place. I mean, tore that truck, front wheels about to fall off of it, front end wrapped up underneath it, motor sitting sideways, rear end knocked over on one side. You see that little red mark on his head right there? That's all he got. And I can't help it. But when I look at them, and I look at them pictures, and I look at that truck, come on here, I can't help but get a little bit of a shout in me. You know why he's sitting here? Because at the other end of his ship is a cable that holds an anchor. And God said, not yet, but I want you to see my mercy.
Yes, God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
So many times God shows His mercy and we don't see it. And sometimes He shows it and says, here it is.
Come on.
I want you to see it.
Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
He's still here because the anchor's sure. Huh? My wife and Bethany's still here because the anchor's sure. A couple of times it was close. One when the man come in the house. Second time, I was driving tractor trailer. They were with me. You've heard the story. Boy come left or center, running about 55 or 60. I'd slowed down. I was about 40. All the way off the road in a semi, a sleeper semi, big truck. He hit me so hard, climbed up on the side of that truck and knocked us plumb out of the road and totaled the semi. Totaled that thing. They had to cut him out of the car. I walked away from that saying, boy, I didn't see that coming. But I'm still here. Come on now. By the time I didn't see it coming, but I'm still here. Ooh, come on here. You know why? Because at the end of my cable is an anchor that's locked into some ground that's sure. Huh? What did that commentator say? It's an anchor that's in ground and it cannot be dragged. Huh? You know why people are blown about by every wind of doctrine? Their anchor's not sure. They're dragging. They're being dragged. They're being blown around. That anchor's not in nothing sure. Something's wishy-washy somewhere. I'm going to tell you, it's time we quit playing games, playing around, and drop that anchor in the middle of the storm in something that's going to hold us. It's an anchor of the soul that'll hold in trouble. Any trouble the world can throw at us. You realize that? Any trouble that the world can throw at us, it'll hold. Not taken away from the fact that there's bad storms.
Absolutely.
Come on now. There's bad storms. I mean really bad storms. There's storms that you think in the middle of it, I'm just not going to see the other side of this. But you will. You will. Because the anchor is sure. Come on here. Do we really understand the significance of the anchor in our lives? Not only is God our anchor, He can calm the stormy waters of our soul. How many times I've heard that song? Sometimes He calms the storm. Sometimes He calms me.
That's right.
God have mercy. I could could stand before you right now and tell you that that's just exactly what he's been doing to me for nearly 3 months. Come on now. What storm you been going through? That don't matter. What does matter is I thought he would calm the storm. I thought he would calm the situation. But instead, he fixed a way to calm me. And even right in the middle of that, I've never been an anxious person, never been a nervous person, but right in the middle of it, it seemed like all of that was maxed out. Strange. It was not me. But because of that, there was a fear, not a I don't know, it's kind of strange to explain, but it put something in me that caused me to want to make sure that my anchor was attached.
Right.
But Tom, it don't do a bit of good to throw out an empty cable.
No.
Huh?
Right.
All you're going to do is make a big splash. Everybody's going to see the splash. But when the storm hits, we're just going to be buffeted and blown away.
Right.
But at the end of that cable, if there's an anchor, it'll hold.
Yes.
Huh? Sometimes those waters are stormy and they're troubled because we can't quit blowing on them ourselves. Oh my. Come on. Sometimes we can't quit blowing on them ourselves. We're stirring them up. We're keeping it stirred up. We're keeping it all messed up. Sometimes he calms a storm and sometimes he calms us. Psalm 107:23. They that go down to the sea in ships that do business in great waters, these see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep, for he commandeth and raiseth the stormy winds, which lifted up the waves thereof. They mount up to the heaven, they go down again to the depths. Their soul is melted because of trouble. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man, are at their wits' end. Anybody ever identify with that? Then they cry unto the Lord in their trouble, and he bringeth them out of their distresses. He maketh the storm a calm, so that the waves thereof are still. Then they are glad because they be quiet, so he bringeth them unto their desired haven.
Yes.
Place of rest. Hallelujah.
Brother Sparks preached a funeral message from that verse one time. I've never forgot it. A desired haven. Amen. Sometimes the desired haven is that end, death, rest. But sometimes he brings it to us now.
That's right.
Don't he?
Yes.
How many can lift a hand and say, there's been times when God has put me in a harbor
Feel that place of rest, didn't you?
just long enough to rest.
Right.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yes.
When I didn't understand,
Right.
when I didn't have the answer,
Right.
when I didn't know, when I didn't know what to do next, when I didn't know what to say next. Oh, come on here. He put me in a place where I can rest.
Right.
Then they are glad because they be quiet. The turbulence of the sea is hushed. The waves are still. They rejoice to see the end of the tempest. Thus, having fine weather, a smooth sea, and fair wind, they are speedily brought to this desired haven. You know what's amazing to me? That Jesus could step out on the bow, or we often say step out on the bow, but anyway, he stepped up somewhere to be noticed and spoke, and the wind and the sea obeyed. You know what's amazing to me? Something that man cannot control, Jesus did.
Right.
But yet he could not get them, man, to respond like the wind and the sea. Isn't that amazing? That the elements respond, but we, the creation, do not. Amen. Oh yeah. I don't know if we're still as excited about getting to heaven today as we was the moment we got saved. I hope that we are. And I hope that we haven't lost sight and lost the excitement of it. Amen. But nobody can appreciate this verse unless you've been in a storm.
Right.
Hmm?
Oh, God.
I remember one time, Brother Sparks, in the old church, I remember, I don't remember exactly what the trouble was. I just know there was some trouble. He was going through it. I knew he was going through it because I kind of, I am his favorite son-in-law. Got much choice on that matter. Whether he likes me or not, I am the only one. So I did have a little bit of part of the family. I kind of knew that there was a little bit of trouble, not details, but I knew that there was things that was tearing him up. And I was tore up because of it. I was bothered because of it. And I remember sitting there playing the guitar one night over in the old church. And all at once, I was feeling burdened and heavy and feeling tossed, just feeling all agitated. And I don't remember the song, Sister Catherine, but all at once, he jumped up and jumped right in the middle of that floor and just about stomped, so to speak, the carpet up. I said, how in the world? I know that man is so burdened and heavy, he can hardly breathe. How is he dancing? Oh, and the more times I've thought about this little old message, I thought about that, I thought, I'll tell you exactly what just happened. There he was in the middle of the storm. He threw his anchor out, but he wasn't sure it hit the bottom yet. He wasn't sure it had got into something sure yet. And so here he was, the storm was a-blowing, and the storm was a-tearing him up, but all at once, he felt that cable get tight. Come on here. All at once, he realized that he was on sure ground, and that God was going to hold him, and God was going to see him through it. It ain't no wonder you can dance and shout when you realize that at the other end, there is hope. I said there's hope. There's something that can hold us steady.
Right. Thank God.
Right. Lord Jesus.
Listen here. One commentator said, the rougher the voyage, the more the mariners long for port.
Amen.
Hello.
Amen.
How could we explain the calm if we'd never been through the storm?
Right.
How could we talk about the victory, Brother Daniel, if we'd never been through the battle?
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
How could we explain the tears if we'd never felt the sorrow?
That's right.
Huh?
Help us, God.
How could we explain the dancing in our feet and the joy in our praise if we'd never come through the trouble?
Right.
That's right.
And heaven becomes more and more a desired haven as our trials multiply. By storms and favorable breezes, though tempest and fair weather, the great pilot and ruler of the sea brings the mariners to port and his people to heaven. He must have the glory of the successful voyage of time. And when we are moored in the river of life, above all, we shall take care that his praises are not forgotten.
Right.
Oh, come on now. I'm closing. Let me get us that song. It amazes me that in the time of trouble, folks they're all about getting close to God. They're all about laying off things. They're all about praying through. They're all about seeking God. They're all about getting whatever they can from him. No. But when the crisis passed, things changed. All of a sudden, it's not important. Wrong answer. It's still important. I said it's still important. Can I tell you, we should have long ago wrecked or been wrecked had it not been for the preserving hand of God that kept us. Long ago, been wrecked had it not been that preserving hand. Our only hope of outliving the storm of the future is based upon his wisdom, his faithfulness, and his power. Not ours, but his. Oh, dear God of heaven. In the last 3 months, I have probably seen my frailty and my shortcomings and my faults and my failures more than I ever have in my entire life. Some of them I've been able to pray over. Some of them I can't do a thing in the world about. Not a thing. Except keep heaven in my view.
Right.
I said keep heaven in my view.
Right.
Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. Glory,
Can you imagine?
glory, hallelujah.
Woo! Can you imagine, Sister Kathy, what that shore is going to sound like when we finally come sliding in?
Yes.
It ain't going to sound like this right now.
No.
Come on here. It won't sound like this right now.
No. God, help us.
Sometimes I get to thinking,
Help us,
I miss my
God.
dad.
Help us, God. Help us, God.
I miss my papa.
God, help us.
I love my Grandpa Barrett, and he was a great man. But I was probably closer to my Papa Cox because I was, well, I mean, I lived closer to Grandpa Barrett, but it just seemed like, I don't know, it just didn't, I loved him, and he loved me, but it was different. My Grandpa Barrett, the Barrett side, they were not huggy, kissy, mushy people. But the Coxes, oh, they'll hug you and kiss you and squeeze your jaws and all that stuff. I don't know why, but I don't know. I shouldn't say I was closer to the Cox. But anyway, I spent a lot of time with them. And I miss my Papa Cox so bad. And I miss my dad, miss my mother. But sometimes, Sister Kathy, I got to study real hard to remember what my dad's voice sounded like. Come on. Sometimes I got to really focus to remember some things about him. But then I get to thinking there's going to come a day. I'm not trying to judge and say for sure he made it to heaven, but by the life he lived, I feel like he did. God's the final judge.
I do too.
But I want to say he made it. Can you imagine the noise that me and him's going to make?
Oh, blessed Jesus. Hallelujah.
I won't have to worry about what his voice sounds like then.
Oh, God. Hallelujah.
But the only way I'm going to get there is if my anchor is sure.
Right. Right.
The only way we're going to see
Yes.
Brother Townsend, Sister Steph, some of the saints that we've lost out of our church here, the only way we're going to see them is to make for sure our anchor is both sure and steadfast.
Right.
Is that right? Feeble attempt to preach. I wish Brother Sparks would have gone and preached, or Brother Mitchell or somebody. But on short notice, that's what I had on my heart. I hope it helped you.
Jesus.
Don't let the devil talk you in to changing ships.
Right. That's right.
Right.
Huh?
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Stay on board.
Right.
Don't jump ship.
Right. Right.
When the storm gets rough, throw out the anchor
Right.
because it'll hold.
That's right.
I said it'll hold. Thank God the anchor holds.
Oh,
Huh?
Jesus.
Thank God the anchor holds. The Holy Ghost spoke this morning. Spoke to Sister Debbie. And she was trying to remember today exactly everything that was said. She sent me a text and some of the others, and maybe trying to remember what was said. She had her phone set up, and for whatever reason, some goofball kept calling it the wrong number. Finally knocked off the video, so she didn't get none of that. But she's wanting to remember what the Holy Ghost said.
Sure.
And I remembered the first part of it, and after that, I went to pieces. Woo! It wasn't even coming to me, and I'm telling you, I about took my guitar down and took off. Woo! I told her, I said, I don't remember nothing but the first part because it went to pieces after that. But if all I can remember was the first part, and it was for me, that was good enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Holy Ghost spoke this morning. God was here then, and God's here now.
Right.
Come on now. So if you feel like that you feel like it'd be better across the pasture,
Jesus, help us, God.
you can ask them cows down over the hill for me. They'll tell you. It ain't greener on the other side. They ain't doing nothing but mud over there. Pitiful, poor looking things.
God, help us.
Come on now. Listen. Stay on the ship.
That's right.
Stay on the ship.
Right.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Because there'll come a day if you don't.
God, help us, Lord
You
Jesus.
wish you had.
Exactly right.
Oh, God, help
Yes,
us,
you will.
Lord.
Oh, would you stand tonight? God bless you.
Help us, Lord.
Appreciate the opportunity. Oh, appreciate the opportunity tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
The power of the anchor. It's amazing to me. I remember going to Mobile, Alabama, and USS Alabama has become a museum. It's docked there, and they've got the water's very shallow, so they got something to hold it there, and the anchor is still on top of the deck. I walked up the side of that thing. The chains that holds that anchor was nearly thicker than I am tall. I'm telling you, things huge. But compared to the size of the ship, that thing wasn't very big. No. I stood and I looked up at that thing, and it was on the deck of the ship. I said, how in the world does that thing hold this big ship? Sure and steadfast. When it hits that sure ground, it'll hold. I remember being in South Carolina on vacation, just a kid. All the family went down. I think Jessica might have went down. She's just little babies at the time. Little bitty thing, squalling like hers is doing. Ooh, nothing wrong with it either. I love it. Hear me? Don't you get offended at me. Nothing wrong with a squalling baby. At all. Well, now, you got to build a church somehow.
That's right. Come on.
We went down on vacation. We stood in front of a lighthouse. They had a big anchor. Remember that anchor in front of Honey Island State Park? We all climbed that thing. And I was just a kid. And they took a picture of me and my sister on that anchor. It was below my feet and above my head. And I look at that thing and I think, the size of the ship. It's not the size of the ship. It's not the size of the anchor. But it's the power of the anchor in sure and steadfast ground. God teaches us to be rooted and grounded in this. And if we're not, we won't hold. Won't you come? God bless you. Come on, let's find a place at this altar tonight. Let's pray. Right up here. Come on, let's all come. Find us a place, seek the Lord. If you feel like you're buffeted and you just don't know when the storm's going to end, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that the anchor will hold. I said the anchor will hold. Oh, let's pray, church, tonight. Everyone will.